Good morning, my beautiful friends. This is your wake up call with Maui Paul. I am Maui Paul. We are here today to say some nice things about ourselves. Got quite the crowd here for a Tuesday. Generally on a Tuesday, I have about 5 or 6 people who are watching live. It looks like in this case, I got about 10. So welcome. I see a lot of you guys have dropped a comment. So if you maybe haven't dropped a comment yet, drop a comment so I know who you are, so I can say good morning to you. Good morning, John L. It's wonderful to see you here today. Good morning, Janet. Good morning, Lauren and Dan. Good morning, Tammy and Tony and Maria. Good to see all of you guys here as well. Good morning, Susan and Jen. Really wonderful to see you here on the Wake Up Call. Thank you guys so much for being here. Yeah, so happy Tuesday to you. And thank you for sharing the broadcast, Tony. You're amazing. Happy Tuesday to you. It is, at least in my area, it's kind of a rainy day. And it woke me up early, which was nice, but at the same time, I wanted to stay in bed. Ever get that kind of a feeling where just the weather outside was not really conducive to me wanting to get up or do anything? And and the way that the pollen is, at least in my area, oh my goodness. I don't know if you could hear it in my voice or not, but I am sounding a bit more gravelly than usual. And it's because of all that yellow stuff that is in the air and that keeps coming up out of my lungs. Anyways, we are going to say something nice about ourselves today, and I'm going to pull a card off the top of the deck. I'm going to ask you if you are the affirmation on the card, and we are going to respond together out loud. I am that affirmation. As we do this, we are building into our own lives. We are giving our subconscious ammunition for when life does not go the way that we think it ought to. And I don't know about you, but I haven't lived a day yet where I thought that literally everything in my day went exactly as I preferred it to go. When troubles come in life to get us down, we can just turn back to these words, turn back to these internal narratives, and know for a fact that we are inherently worthy of living this life that we are gifted with. So I don't know if we froze or not, Lauren, but I can still see you. Anyways. Yeah, so let's pull a card off the top of the deck and have some fun today by declaring that today I am assertive. I am assertive. I boldly advocate my positions. So I am assertive. I boldly advocate my positions. Are you assertive? You are assertive. You boldly advocate your positions. And I'm going to write that down in the comments. I'm going to say that I am assertive. I boldly advocate my positions. All right. So I am assertive. I boldly advocate my positions. And I encourage you guys also to write that down in the comments because we are assertive people. You know, the fact is that the root of being assertive actually comes from the Latin, which means to claim or to maintain. And the concept of assertiveness has been talked about, as early as Aristotle. Like, this is a very old concept. Aristotle talked about the value of meekness. And in his world, meekness meant a controlled anger. Of course, we have better words for it now, but essentially the concept that he was talking about in his treatise on ethics, he was essentially talking about when it is appropriate to assert our positions, when it is appropriate to boldly advocate for what we believe is true, what we believe is right, and how to do that in such a way that it doesn't offend our listener. Aristotle was a very big proponent of being angry, but being angry in the right measure, at the right person, at the right time, and with the right end goal in mind. And ultimately, the difference between being assertive and just being a domineering, dogmatic jerk is the end goal that we have in mind. If our end goal is to be right, then we are not being particularly assertive. Our end goal is not to be right. Our end goal is to help other people to come to understand what our positions are. When we boldly advocate for our positions, we don't necessarily need to make anybody else wrong. We simply need to say what is right for us. I had a situation just yesterday where I had to be assertive, where somebody had messed up about 3 months ago, and in the context of a team that I'm on, and somebody else had messed up 3 months ago, and it wasn't a big deal. It was just a little thing. I sent them about 5 emails about it, but they just didn't correct it. Well, eventually I just let it go because I said, okay, fine. Like they clearly don't care about this, and the all the danger from this, has passed, and so whatever. I just let it go. Well, it reared its ugly head yesterday again, and so I just resent this person an email and with a synopsis of what had happened, and essentially, like, I wasn't trying to make them wrong for not dealing with this 3 months ago. I wasn't trying to do that. My goal, of course, was just to get the problem solved. And but they immediately got defensive about it because they assumed that I was passing some kind of a character judgment on the way that they had handled the situation. And while I don't agree with the way that they had handled the situation, because I don't think that 5 emails should go ignored, I recognize that people get busy, and that honestly, if this person truly didn't think that there was a problem, then they would have behaved that way. They just thought that I was, I guess, ringing an alarm for no reason. Well, fast forward to today, or fast forward to yesterday, when everything when we started to see some delayed consequences of that decision, and I had to be assertive, and I had to say, hey, here's what here's what went down 3 months ago, and I'm not trying to make you wrong about it. I'm just trying to say, here's what happened, and because this happened, here's the consequences of what happened. Love them or don't love them, it doesn't matter to me, but do be informed. And so at this point, I've now informed this person about 6 times about how their actions have directly impacted other people, and but just doing it in a diplomatic way was definitely a challenge to me, because my first instinct would have just been to say, hey, here's all the stuff that you did, and this is the consequence that it caused. But of course, that would just make them even more defensive. I felt like the level of defensiveness that I had to deal with yesterday was enough. So in the end, I had to boldly advocate for my positions. And in the end, the person who I was doing that with recognized that they hadn't exactly handled it as well as they could have months ago, and that it ballooned into something bigger because of that. And they made the requisite changes in order to essentially solve the problem. And my goal was that the problem is solved. My goal is not that I'm better or smarter than anybody. My goal is that the problem is solved. And ultimately, like, that's the value of being assertive, is that we can solve these problems. Being assertive makes us grow. We have to grow. We have to grow in order to boldly advocate for anything. This world does not teach us to be bold advocates for anything. This world teaches us to blindly trust authority, to blindly just kind of go with the flow, to kind of like get along with everybody so that we can get along in society. And in most cases, those ways of being serve us pretty well. However, when we know that we are correct and we have a position we must boldly advocate for, it requires tremendous growth in order to do that. And so we are assertive today. We boldly advocate for our positions. And so I'm kind of curious this morning as to, like, what's the last thing that you really had to, or I should say, when was the last time that you had to boldly advocate for your position? And doing so with a spirit of change, a spirit of being interested in the best outcomes for everybody. The difference between telling somebody what to do and being assertive is that when we are assertive, we are attempting to change behavior or help change somebody's point of view for the benefit of everybody involved. Whereas if we're just being dogmatic, if we're just saying, oh, it's my way or the highway, then where's the change? Where's the growth? We're just being children. We're just saying, oh, well, we have to be right because we have to be right. So as we grow into our own adulthood, as we mature and grow, and as we are dedicated to helping the people around us mature and grow, as we boldly advocate for what we know is right, then we grow ourselves, and we also grow the people around us. The person that I was being assertive with yesterday had to grow in order to realize that the value or the merit in what I was saying, and they did, and I was very happy that they did. And it took a little while, but it did happen. And because of that, I feel like I had a I had a successful assertiveness episode, I guess. So I am assertive. I was assertive. I will be assertive. I will continue to boldly advocate for my positions. And I expect you to do the same. In fact, I encourage you to do the same, to boldly advocate for yours. There have been many times in life where somebody has come to me with some kind of a rebuke. And because I recognized that they were right, I changed my behavior. I modified my behavior too. So I very much welcome it when somebody boldly advocates their positions, because in many cases it shows me the blind spots in myself. I have to grow in order to accept somebody else being assertive, just like they have to grow in order to accept it of me. So I am assertive today. You are assertive as well, and we boldly advocate our positions. So you see that you guys have been dropping a bunch of comments. So let's just take a look here and see what's going on. Let's see here. Let's see. Dan, you're always there with the irony. It's funny. Dan says, "I'm assertive every time." Sometimes. You always make me laugh in the morning, Dan. I always appreciate that. Thank you. Jan says, "I'm learning to be more comfortable using this skill in order to stay true to myself and to communicate clearly and openly for my benefit." Not just your benefit, Jan, but also the benefit of the people around you. And as they continue to do it. Tammy brings up a valuable point about conflict avoidance. We are trained from a young age to avoid conflict. I mean, think about it. As we are, the very first times that we ever get into conflict, it is typically with our parents, and we are very small children. We are like toddlers. That's about when we start to get into conflict with our parents. And let me tell you, being in conflict with your parents when you are a toddler is not a good long-term plan. It just doesn't work. They're bigger than you. You might not want to go down for a nap, but they will pick you up and put you down for a nap. And that is just how it is. So we are taught that if we are able to just sort of avoid that conflict, then we are able to just kind of like get along easier in life. So we don't scream and cry about how we're not going to go down for a nap as a toddler. We just refuse to go to sleep. And so we get rid of the conflict, but at the same time, it's not necessarily in our best interest, though as toddlers, we wouldn't know that. So, I mean, society itself teaches us not to be assertive. It teaches us to just sort of like get along, and conflict avoidance becomes a very big part of our lives. And being assertive isn't about being in conflict. There's not necessarily any conflict there. When we boldly advocate, we don't have to make anybody else wrong. I think that's the biggest message of this card, is that as we are assertive, we don't need to make other people wrong in the process of our being assertive. We boldly advocate what we believe is right, and we accept the fact that other people are going to be defensive. We accept the fact that they are probably going to attempt to rebut us, and that's okay. As we learn how to navigate that conflict, that we are all going to end up growing. And so we give ourselves the gift of being able to we give ourselves the gift of being assertive, of learning how to boldly advocate for the important things in our lives. We also give the people that we're being assertive with the opportunity to grow into being able to receive that constructive criticism, or that constructive advocacy for a position that is different than what they hold. So I am assertive today, and you are assertive too. And this is our reminder today. Let this card serve as a reminder for all of us that the things that we believe, and the things that we believe passionately, deserve to have an audience. And so therefore, let's make sure that as we are advocating for these positions, that we're doing it in such a way that is compassionate to the people around us. Let's see here. So Tammy says, assertiveness is harder for me as I avoid conflict. However, I've been working on this for years now to improve. And of course, we all have, Tammy. I remember I was quite the pushover, and I'm now less of a pushover, and it's nice. Let's see. So Jan says, even when and if things don't change in the ways I advocate for, I'm proud of myself for sharing my thoughts and showing myself that I have preferences, and it's okay to express my desires. Yeah, that's a fact. Being assertive doesn't mean that there will ever be change. It doesn't mean that the people that we are assertive with are going to see our point of view, because oftentimes they don't. And it can be frustrating when they don't. But in the end, We teach ourselves that it's okay to have desires. It's okay to have a point of view. It's okay to to bring our thoughts to the table. And it can be scary to bring our thoughts to the table, because when we do, we open ourselves up for criticism. We open our thoughts up for being dissected. And more than once, I have brought my thoughts to a table and had somebody else just utterly rip into them, and have me realize at the end that that person was actually right and that they had thought about it more deeply than me. And I was able to change my positions, and yeah, I was able to change my positions and really grow and leave the table smarter than I came there. And that ultimately is the true value of it, because it's not our short-term positions that matter. It's our long-term growth trajectory as human beings. So let's see here. Yeah, so Tony says, I don't search for conflict, but I don't back down from conflict because I am assertive. Yes, you are. Great use of the I am statement today. All right, guys, so we are assertive today, so let's make sure that we are asserting our positions. Let's boldly advocate for what we know to be right and true. And as we do that, let's also recognize that our audience might not agree with us, and they might not be convinced. But in the end, the growth that happens is in ourselves. If we offer growth to somebody else and they don't take it, that's on them. But in the end, us being bold advocates for what we believe grows us. And that is the primary benefit we get from it. My friends, my beautiful friends, I will talk to you tomorrow at 9 a.m. We'll come back with another one of these. I want to say thank you again for being here, for sharing this broadcast, for commenting on it, just for showing the Facebook algorithm and the various social media algorithms that this is content worth engaging with, that this is a message worth spreading, that this is a message that's worth expanding out there into the world. So thank you for that. I love you and appreciate you. I'll talk to you tomorrow at 9 a.m. And until then, aloha from paradise.